Okay, here's what you're gonna need. Epic B-roll, smoke grenades, helicopter shots, motion blur zoom transitions, and speed ramp everything. Or not. What is up, people? Dunna here, and today we're taking it back to basics. We're gonna talk about a few basic things that you should be doing to make better videos. Even if you're a seasoned professional, this video should act as a reminder for all those little basic things that make a great video. And if you're just a beginner, this will be a great jumping off point to know what you should be learning and researching to further grow and expand in video production. We all get a little caught up in the hype sometimes, and sometimes it can be really hard to come back out. It might be having the latest gear, fancy transition packs, feeling like you need to color grade a certain way, or throw an extra B-roll sequence in there just because other people are doing it. And all that stuff can be great, but it really should just be treated as icing on the cake. That's all the extra stuff that you can add once you've got a great foundation for a solid video. So let's take it back to basics. Number one, find your story and plan your video. Before a video is a video, it's just an idea. If it's story-based like a vlog or a short film, then you're gonna wanna find your beginning, middle, and end and plan that out. If it's more information or education-based, then figure out what you wanna say and how you wanna say it. If it's more of a documentary and you're just capturing things as they happen, then a lot of that story magic is going to be happening in the editing process, but there are still so many things that you can choose about the style and how you wanna capture it ahead of time. The bottom line, no matter what kind of video you're making, is that you should be prepared before you ever start shooting. It's gonna save you so much time and so much energy, and it's gonna make a better product in the end. Number two, understanding audio. I've said it before and I'll say it again, audio is as important, if not more important, than the video. I have another video talking about how you can improve your audio. I'll link it up here, but just a couple quick tips. Make sure you get your microphone as close to the subject as you possibly can without getting it in the shot. Make sure you know how to set proper levels so they're not too loud or too quiet, because you don't want clipping, and you also don't want it to be too quiet because when you go to turn that up later, you're gonna introduce a bunch of noise. Choosing good music that enhances the mood of the video is super important. And then as a cherry on top, you can add more sound design to your scenes to add extra interest. Number three, know your camera settings. Understanding all the things that you can do with camera settings is so important to getting the look that you want. Understanding different frame rates like 24 frames per second, 60 or 120 can be super important in choosing different styles for different shots. Those high frame rates should really only be used when you want to get slow motion shots, and you could be losing quality if you're using the wrong frame rate. Also, probably one of the most basic and most important things that you can learn is the exposure triangle. This is the relationship between shutter speed, ISO, and aperture, and it allows you to manipulate the amount of light that's coming into the camera. In video, our shutter speed is typically set at twice the speed of our frame rate. So if you're shooting at 24 frames per second like I am now, you want to have your shutter speed as close to 1/48th of a second as possible. This creates the most pleasing motion blur when it's played back. The faster the shutter speed you have to use, the less light you let in. So if you're shooting at 60 frames per second and you want to set your shutter speed to 1/120th of a second, you're going to be letting in a lot less light than if you're shooting at 24 frames per second with your shutter speed at 1/48th of a second. When it comes to apertures, the lower the number, the more light it lets in and the shallower depth of field. What this allows you to do is have the subject in focus but have the background and anything in the foreground out of focus, thus drawing your eye to the subject. However, if the situation is too bright, you may need to do what's called stopping down the aperture. A higher aperture number will allow you to keep more of the scene in focus all at one time, but will let in a lot less light because you are decreasing the size of the hole that the light is coming through. The ISO increases or decreases the sensitivity of the sensor in your camera. This is going to increase or decrease the brightness of the picture. But you have to be careful about this because as you increase ISO, you're going to lose detail, you're going to lose color quality, and most of the time you're going to increase the amount of noise on the sensor. This can mean that you'll end up with a grainy image that's not sharp and it doesn't have good colors. Our modern cameras are pretty incredible with how high you can push the ISO, but you can only get them to go so far. Number four, know your camera. This is something I can't say enough. You have to know your camera inside and out. Does it shoot 4K? Does it shoot 1080? Can you do slow motion? What are the focusing options? You should know every setting and every button and dial that camera has. Once you know and understand all of the different settings and modes in your camera, you can use those to your advantage to help you tell your story. Another reason this is super important is because once you understand every button and dial, every setting, and you know where to go in the menus to change whatever you need to change, then the camera will never get in your way or slow you down from getting the shot that you need. Number 5, make sure you have the right tools for the job. This definitely doesn't mean that you need the most expensive or newest version of everything that's out there, but it is important to understand what's out there and what's going to be the best tool for you as a filmmaker and the way that you do things. If you can help it, try not to get too hung up on gear, but there are some minimums that you're going to need for specific situations and specific projects. And I'm not just talking about cameras and lenses, I'm also talking about audio equipment, lighting gear, and even the locations that you might need for a specific shoot. Also, remember that you can rent gear. You don't have to go out buying everything all the time. There's no point in spending tens of thousands of dollars for something you're only gonna need to use every once in a while. If you keep these tips in mind, you're gonna have a nice foundation for every single project you do, and then you can start to sprinkle on those fancy transitions or super interesting shots that are going to make your art pop. But if you don't have that strong foundation, all of the smoke grenades and helicopters in the world aren't gonna make you a great video. As always, I want to turn this over to you guys. Let me know in the comments below if you have any basic tips for people to make better videos. Let's start a conversation. If you had fun or if you learned something, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help to tell YouTube to share the video around. If you want to be friends, click the circle, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification so you don't miss anything. If you want to watch another video, there's one right here. I think you'll really like it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.